uses analytics in your work. This presentation will be devoted to will be devoted to how to draw conclusions. The first layer is just the surface. We have more valuable things underneath, and we need to put some effort into finding out what lies underneath. I have a company together with my colleague. We are called Analytics Qualified Individuals. We have several interesting considerations and thoughts on this. I will very briefly skip through introductory things, just a minute, to make sure that everyone knows how to start analytics in Magento. First of all, we need to enable the e-commerce mode in analytics, so it has to be enabled first, and then it is sufficient to enter our profile number in Magento, and that would mean that we are able to start analytics. Magento can handle several stores from one installation, so if you enter this code it will collect data from all stores. It is almost sufficient for analytics to be collected, but there is one extension that is very useful. It is a free one. It allows us to avoid the manual modification of templates. It can help us add support for additional steps in the basket. We can create a tunnel here. We will reach that. Let's remember that there is such an extension. It works very well. I will tell you a few words about that. So now that's the end on configuring analytics. I don't know if someone knows this gentleman here, Avinash Kaushik. Has anyone heard about him? No one? One person? Well, someone following the issue of analytics. Avinash Kaushik is guru of analytics. He used to work for Google. He worked for Google Analytics. He now has his own company. So web analytics segmentation, do or die, there's no try. It is the primary motto for everyone dealing with analytics. I will try to convince you to this. Analyzing data without segmentation leads to mistaken conclusions or to no conclusions. It doesn't lead to conclusions that will help you develop your activity. Only dividing the data into segments. Those segments can be different depending on the business that you run and the industry that you operate in. Only this can help you reveal really valuable knowledge. There can be a million of segments. There are several segments that work well for most cases, like new users, returning users, those who have purchased and they have not purchased. But apart from standard segments, we can define segments that will be adjusted to your particular needs, and analytics is very flexible and useful here. These examples are supposed to serve as eye-openers for you to see what can be done. What you can see on this slide is total data from the segment that I prepared for organic traffic in analytics. There is a report, keywords generating traffic. We can click to the tab showing sales from each of the keywords, and my segments divide into search terms that were consisted of one keyword, two keywords, three, and four and more keywords. So the total sales from this period is more than 1 million zlotys in this particular store. So I wanted to show you that single keyword searches generate less than a half. Two keyword searches generate 20%, but 4+ keyword searches generate a large part of the pie. You will not receive this information normally without segmentation from analytics. If you have a SEO strategy and if you are considering whether to invest in long tail or not, this information is very valuable. Sticking to this segment, 1, 2, 3, and so on, keyword search. Let me show you the comparison for two stores. Two big stores with high turnovers, operating for years already. I wanted to show you that there are no universal rules. Until you divide your data into segments, you will not know whether it is like in this kids store, where the longer the phrase, the lower the revenue, or as in the sports business, sports sales, where a three keyword search generates more sales than two keyword searches. So if you build a list of search engines that you want to optimize, or you want to hand over to an SEO agency, you need to consider whether to focus on two keyword searches or three keyword searches. You will be able to answer these questions very simply if you divide it into relevant segments with high probability that your response will be correct. Another segment, one of the most typical segments, that is the behavior of new users and returning users from another store. This example comes from another store. I think this is something that should appeal to you. For new users, the conversion rate is less than 1%. Average value is 156 zlotys per transaction, and the total revenue 9,000. For returning users, the conversion rate is 3%. This is another point for analysis. If returning users generate so much higher value, maybe we should intensify our activities, such as newsletters, such as social media, additional incentives to make users return. We can see that returning users are much more valuable than users that are new users in our store. If you do not divide this data into segments, you will never find that out. So I would like to encourage you to do it. It is possible in analytics. I will not show you technical details, but if you want to find out more, I will tell you during the break. Well, there was too much data. That's what the message says. The problem with analytics is that something that discourages many people is overwhelming number of data, overwhelming quantities of data. It is difficult to get a grasp on it, to monitor it on a daily basis. They are not always outlined or laid out in a way that we would like to see it. We need to go to one and another report and another report and then download it to Excel. So there is no better way to compare the data. Let me give you a simple example. It is a report showing traffic from AdWords in analytics. It is very nice. You can see revenues per campaign, groups of ads and keywords. I have deleted several columns to make it more visible, but what's the most important thing is that we have revenue, but we don't have a column with costs. From this table, you did not know how much it cost you to buy this traffic. You can check. You can see the cost here, but here you do not see revenue in the standard table. So you are in a situation where to compare it, you need to use certain combinations. But there is a simple solution for this. It is not used by many people. Our customers find out about these solutions is they find about it asking us. But there are non-standard reports. That's the tool. Non-standard reports where you can put together exactly the data that you need in exactly the form that you need. And this is an example of such a report done for the purpose of this presentation, where in one table you have both revenue and costs. You have costs from AdWords on the bottom. Quite recently it was not possible to import any other costs to analytics, but there is a beta version, a beta feature allowing to import costs from other channels like Facebook ads or Seneo knockout ads. It is possible to import this data through CSV files or through API. So it will be much easier to analyze this data very soon. Why non-standard reports or custom reports are so useful? You can determine the measures and dimensions And in green, you can see levels of reports. On the first level, you can see the campaign costs, revenues, and so on per campaign. And then if you click that campaign, you will go to the level of groups of ads. Then the next level will show you particular keywords, so you get into more and more detail. That would require clicking between various standard reports in Analytics. Here you have it all in one custom table, and you can define it in such a way that Analytics sends you this report as PDF every day. So you get exactly what you need. Okay, and that was a brief introduction for custom reports. But now a question goes to you. I don't know how many of you have direct experiences with sales or with online sales. How many of you are dealing with this? How do you think? How much time does the customer need between the first contact with the store and their first purchase? How many visits? Some averages? 1, 2, 3, 4 visits? I'm not talking about time, number of visits. Is it the first visit, fourth? Yes, it does happen. But what I'm going to show you is that the road, the path to purchase is very long. And that's for one single reason. If we analyze data, for example, we have an AdWords campaign. We see that yesterday we spent 5,000 zlotys for the campaign. We made sales for 3,000 zlotys. This campaign doesn't work. We switch it off. Does it make sense, such an activity? No, probably not. Because the path to purchase is much longer, and the number of steps comprises organic traffic, paid channels, very many paths. So there is a report in Analytics, or several reports that demonstrate it very well. What you can see are examples of customer behaviors which have made purchases in our store. So we can see that the most popular behavior model was 2 direct visits, 209 conversions were like that. But then we have several other models. Direct visit or visit from a search engine. Has anyone used that report? Yes? Okay, one person. Great. So imagine, once again, normally if you do not use multi-channel paths, Google Analytics assigns the conversion to last visit to this on-site. If it's a search engine, it will be assigned or associated with the search engine. If it's from AdWords, it will be assigned to AdWords. But if someone enters from AdWords first, finds them from AdWords, remembers your brand, but doesn't make a purchase, they enter later on, 2 hours later, from Google search engine, normal analytics reports will assign this to Google, to organic Google, although you have actually acquired this customer thanks to AdWords. That's why multi-channel paths are so important, because they show the exact way that the customers cover to make a purchase. So this is something that should show you very well what I was trying to tell you. For example, what you see in this part is the number of steps taken by consumers, by users before conversion. We can see that there was 2,000 conversions, 1,000 conversions in one step, but there was also 801 conversions where 10 visits or more were necessary. And how does it translate to sales? Total sales was 468,000 zlotys. But out of that, almost 100,000 was sale to users that have visited us 10 times or more. If you believe that Facebook doesn't work because you switched it on yesterday and it doesn't work today, maybe you wouldn't have half of that sales. If you prematurely decided that AdWords didn't work, without giving the customers several days or more than 10 days to test whether they make a purchase or not, maybe you wouldn't have this transaction. It is good to remember this and get deeper into these reports before you make any decisions on internet promotion. And that's where we are in the group of the same reports, the same group of reports. This is another picture from another store, value of particular channels. It is a report showing what channels we have. Direct traffic, free search, referrers, paid searches. It is both AdWords and Knockout. That's a Polish website. You can see the value of these channels. We have, for example, we have paid search with a value of 49,000 zlotys. It doesn't mean that these customers arrived directly from AdWords, but they arrived from AdWords some time in the past. If they came from referral, that generated 98,000 zlotys. These channels, even if they did not end the purchase, end the transaction, they were very important they were very important in terms of assistance. I think that has given you a picture of, it demonstrated that it is worth paying more attention to multi-channel paths, but I would like to tell you more about some other important options that will help you control your business in a more effective manner in Google Analytics. That's goals. If you do not measure, you do not know. You don't know if it works or not. We do not know about the efficiency. We do not know the efficiency of our newsletter registration. Of course, we can check. We can enter the Magento panel, and we see that there are 1,000 registered users. But if they came from AdWords or from Google or from Facebook, that's what Magento will not tell us. If you define goals in analytics, like for example registration or registration for newsletter, signing up for newsletter, then using that segment we will be able to put it into order. For example, Facebook translates very well into signing up for a newsletter, and AdWords translates into sales. We will be able to customize our our advertising activities. The basket is also one of the most important targets, one of the most important goals we can define in analytics. It has several steps. The biggest problem is that users abandon their shopping cart, the shopping basket. They stop at some stage. They don't proceed to checkout. We have the Analytics Plus. Normally we have a basket, we have a shopping cart, where there's only one step. There cannot be several steps in this tunnel. This plugin converts it into virtual page views in Analytics, giving names to those steps. So what you can do here, you can create a tunnel or funnel. I tried to make it visible, clear. It ends with a purchase, with checkout at the very end. You can see add to cart or showing the cart. After then we have the percentage to logging in, then the number of people proceeding to payment, and so on. What you can discover are problems with your basket, with your shopping cart, because maybe the payment system is unclear, or maybe the logging system is not well formatted and the user doesn't know whether they should log in or not. So you can find those items of the shopping cart, or those parts of the shopping cart that are least effective, that require improvement. What about those who do not have time? That requires someone to be involved in analytics, in the usage of analytics, by defining custom reports, by defining segments. You need to analyze it. If you are on the management level, there is a very good solution for top management. That's custom dashboards. We define such a dashboard ourselves. Any report, any custom reports can be collected in one place. And they are in brief form, in shortened form. We determine ourselves whether it would be 2 columns or 3 columns or 4 columns. So on one screen, this is one screen. If you are a store owner, you can see, you can have a look once per day. You can see that the number of visits is rising, but the revenue is dropping. So there is something to analyze. We cannot include multi-channel paths here, but all other reports can be included in that report, and I can also ask Google to send it as PDF to my mailbox once per day, so I can see a summary of whether my business is healthy or requires some intervention. So that's all what I wanted to tell you as this brief introduction to what can be demonstrated by Google Analytics. I didn't want to bore you with technical details because we would probably not be able anyway to see the details like modifications to the original code. But if you want to find out more how to implement this in a more advanced manner, but of course 30 seconds of an advert. You have a form under this at this address. If someone has any need to discuss it further, just fill the form with a short description of your case. We can offer you free 2 hours of consultation on analytics, where we will tell you what can be improved in your implementation, what does and what doesn't work. So if you are interested, please go to our website, fill the form, and we will be very glad to talk to you about that. That was our last slide. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions right now, I will be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Well, yes, the plugin works with the standard Ajax checkout, but when it's not standard, then we have a developer which can use templates. So we can use a plugin for all of that, but we can also do it from JavaScript, which we can recall or use. So if you want to have it easy, then you have the plugin, but if you want to have it out of the box, we can also be provided. Well, the question is without a microphone. Could you please speak up? Okay, but other than transactions, it is worth tracking events to differentiate the green from red button. So how can it be done? Well, the landing page is the same, but for analytics it won't be differentiated, but it's important from the interface point of view. That's a good question. Well, I haven't mentioned that in this presentation, but Google Analytics has a very good events mechanism which you can configure. From the script level, you have additional lines, you need to add them, and with those events you have 4 fields: label, value. So for each such event you can assign parameters, and you can see that 1,000 users clicked the green buttons, and how many users clicked the red button, and how many transactions were completed in one group and the other group. So events are a very powerful mechanism which are used in implementation. They can be used to serve those Ajax events, so the page is not overloaded, and standard analytics doesn't support them, and event will support them. And Google Analytics also offers the experiments mechanism. Unfortunately, it's quite difficult to implement it for Magento, also for logistics reasons, but you can try. So there are 2 alternative versions of the page, so that when the user has seen version A, will also always see version A, and version B will always see version B. and then you have the conversion rate, statistics showing how likely you can state that one of the versions is better than the other. But if any of you would like to talk to me about that, that's also an interesting topic we can talk about in terms of optimization of internet services. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.